Aunt Lee from Shanxi sold 2.5 kilograms of celery and was fined $8,200. A peasant in Handan City, Hebei Province, was fined $550 for field work during the pandemic lockdown period. A merchant in Daqing City bought potatoes at 33 cents per kilogram, sold them at 55 cents, and was accused of violating the Price Act and was fined $41,000. A peasant in Guangxi Province slaughtered his own pigs and sold them to his relatives for $270. He was fined $14,000. A farmer in Panzihua City, Sichuan Province, went up the mountain to plant fruit trees. In order to facilitate farming, he built a road at his own expense and was fined $5,500. As China's economy is in a downturn, local governments are facing financial difficulties and are coming up with all kinds of ways to make money. Some are making up excuses to rob people, some are imposing heavy penalties for minor offenses, and issuing sky-high fines at every turn. Recently, it has attracted attention that the local governments are robbing private companies in other provinces. This practice is commonly known as distant sea fishing. In other words, some local governments send police to other cities or provinces to plunder the enterprise's properties, especially private enterprises in some economically developed provinces. Let's talk about related topics today. But before we do, we would like to invite you to subscribe. Your support is our greatest motivation and allows us to bring you more valuable content. Now, moving on. Since the second half of last year, the Communist Party of China has introduced many policies to save local finances, including issuing local bonds. Reuters reported that the authorities plan to issue a record 411.5 billion special government bonds in 2025. Lu Ming, a pseudonym who has worked in the local finance department for many years, told overseas media that the county-level finances are now paralyzed, which is manifested in the large amount of debt spent, which has far exceeded the ability of fiscal revenue. It feels like these actions were malicious borrowing, and they have no intention of paying back debts. For example, there is a county whose annual fiscal revenue is only a few billion, but it's spent more than 20 billion. Isn't that crazy? For more than 2 decades, local governments in China have relied heavily on land finance. China's land belongs to the government, and local governments transfer land use rights to real estate developers. Due to the continued downturn in the real estate market in recent years, transactions of land use rights have also decreased, causing local finances to fall into difficulties. As a result, fines and confiscations become a significant means of making money for some local governments. The income is the sum of fines plus confiscated income. According to official data from the Chinese government, national tax revenue fell by 3.4% last year, but non-tax revenue soared by 25.4%, with fines and confiscations increasing by nearly 15%. An old peddler in Fuzhou City, Fujian Province, made a profit of $2 by selling celery. The official determined that the salary was substandard, and the local market supervision department issued a $7,000 fine to the old man. Because the old man was too poor to pay the fine in time, he was fined an additional $7,000. In 2022, the CCP's national fines and confiscations revenue reached $58.6 billion, a 10-year high. After this data was released, everyone on the internet was cursing it. Then, the Chinese government no longer announced its fines and confiscation income. According to incomplete statistics from October 1st to December 6, 2021, Bazhou City, Hebei Province, which has 15 townships under its jurisdiction, collected fines and confiscations of up to 9.2 million in just 2 months, which is 11 times the amount collected from January to September of the same year. A total of 2,500 companies and individual businesses were fined, with an average fine of $3,560 per company. The local Chinese Communist Party authorities rob the people in various ways. Recently, on February 5th, a restaurant owner in Jiamusi City, Heilongjiang Province, released a video saying that 3 people claiming to be the Environmental Protection Department came to his restaurant and demanded that he install a fume purifier, otherwise he would be fined between $700 and $7,000. The 3 staff also claimed that if the purifier was not installed, it would destroy the blue sky across the country. The owner said that his small restaurant has been open for more than 10 years, with only 2 or 3 customers a day, and the average consumption per person is only $1 to $1.40. In addition, the main dish he sells is Korean bibimbap. There is no point in installing a fume purifier. He said, "The streets are empty all year round and I can't even make $3 a day. I don't need a purifier to protect the blue sky. I'd better survive first." Have you installed a purifier? According to our management regulations, if you do not comply with the rules within your business scope, you will destroy the blue sky of Jammu Sea and even the whole of China. My restaurant has been open for almost 10 years, and this is the first time I've encountered this. My store only has 2 to 3 customers a day, and each person spends only $1 to $1.40. There is no point in installing a purifier. It's just like cooking at home. My home is still a Korean restaurant, mainly selling bibimbap and the like. The incident sparked heated discussions among netizens. The fine is between $700 and $7,000. There is a lot of room for maneuvering. Nowadays, many small restaurants may not have a net profit of $7,000 a year. A villager in Yeoncheong City, Jiangsu Province made a profit of $25 from selling a sheep and was fined $14,000 by the local Market Supervision Bureau. On November 21, 2023, staff from the Market Supervision Bureau of Dafang District, Yeoncheong City seized a sheep carcass and 6 sheep heads that had not been inspected and stamped on the stall of villager Chen Guangfeng at the vegetable market. Chen admitted that there were 3 sheep carcasses in her home's refrigerator and led law enforcement officers to her house to complete the seizure procedures. Since selling uninspected mutton is illegal, the Market Supervision Bureau issued a penalty notice to the villager, proposing to fine him $18,000, confiscate 4 sheep carcasses and 6 sheep heads, and confiscate a legal income of $25. It is worth noting that the Dafang District Market Supervision Bureau took samples of sheep heads and lambs for inspection. The inspection report shows that the batch of lambs sampled and inspected meets the relevant requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, and the results are qualified. Although the quarantine results meet the standards, the Market Supervision Bureau still imposed a fine of $14,000, confiscated the sheep carcasses and heads, and confiscated the sales money. Chen Guangfeng begged for leniency because her family has an elderly patient suffering from advanced lymphoma who needs huge physical treatment expenses, and her family is living in difficulty, so she sued the District Market Supervision Bureau in court, demanding the cancellation of the penalty. As a result, the court rejected her lawsuit. Chen was dissatisfied with this and has now appealed to the Yangcheng Intermediate People's Court. The 6 sheep involved in the case were raised by Gu Dalan, a villager in Dafang District. Gu Dalan died of illness during the punishment period of the case. Gu Dalan's younger brother Gu Dakui wrote a statement requesting law enforcement agencies to give Chen Guangfeng a lenient sentence. He wrote, "My brother was ill and had advanced cancer. He asked me to help him get rid of some sheep to pay for his medical treatment. I helped him find a seller, but she refused. Then I repeatedly asked her to help get rid of the sheep. I didn't know that the Industrial and Commercial Department investigated and punished her for violating the law. I feel so sorry for her." First, the lambs and the remaining parts were inspected, and both were qualified. We have been shouting about food safety for so many years. Can you ensure that all the pork or lamb your guys stamp as qualified is qualified? We can't be sure, but for this case, the unstamped lamb was sent for inspection. We can imagine that the inspection must have been very strict. Now it has passed, but there will still be a fine of $14,000. It's not easy for anyone who opens a small stall. If you open the pork or lamb stall in the market, how much money do you think they can make? This is a vegetable market. We just passed by an old lady selling vegetables on the roadside. We asked her how much she sold today. She said it only sold for $4 today. How much do you think they can make a year? Coincidentally, this is not the only case of this kind. Look at these gas stations. The highest illegal income was $1.18 million, but they were only fined $270. However, a villager sold potatoes at 55 cents per kilogram, buying them at 33 cents per kilogram, and was fined $41,000. The meat from his own pig snout was sold for $4.10, and the villager was fined $14,000. A peasant from Fujian sold celery for $3.30 and was also fined $14,000. The so-called serving the people, who are you serving? This case has attracted the attention and heated discussion of netizens. Many netizens commented, the sheep raised by the peasant were not quarantined, but they passed the inspection. And those well-known merchants have so many additives and carcinogens in their food, why are they not fined? For an ordinary family, $14,000 really takes several years of frugality to save. There was also an incident of arbitrary fines imposed on peasants. Mr. Gu is reportedly a peasant in Shou County, Huainan City, Anhui Province. Last November, he drove his pickup truck to a nearby gas station to buy diesel because his tractor and harvester ran out of diesel during the busy farming season. He was fined $4,000. Since the gas station is far away from the farmland and large agricultural machinery cannot be driven directly to the gas station for refueling, Gu loaded 3 barrels of diesel totaling more than 100 liters in a pickup truck and prepared to transport them back to the farmland to refuel the agricultural machinery. However, on his way back, Gu was stopped by the Transportation Enforcement Department and fined $4,000 for not having a hazardous goods transport permit. This penalty put this peasant in a difficult situation. He had to sell the rice in his fields and borrow money from fellow villagers to raise the $4,000 fine and get back his seized vehicle. Once this incident was exposed, it immediately aroused widespread attention. Many netizens believe that although Gu's behavior violated relevant regulations, considering that he used the diesel for his own use rather than for business and that refueling conditions in rural areas are limited, the penalty imposed by law enforcement agencies was too heavy and lacked humanity. We have more than 100 acres of land. Last month, during the busy farming season, the diesel for our harvesters, rotary tillers, and other farm machinery ran out. So I drove to the gas station and bought $140 worth of diesel. When I came back, my truck was seized by the road administration. The village official also issued a certificate. Later, the party secretary of the village branch also went there and told the road administration law enforcement department about the situation. I sold the rice for $1,400, but the money was still not enough, so I went to borrow money. Because this vehicle did not have the relevant dangerous goods transportation certificate, he used a pickup truck, which is not a regular vehicle for transporting dangerous goods. Based on this discretion, the minimum fine is $4,000, which is already humane. If he is not satisfied, he can apply for administrative review. After much effort and public attention, the Transportation Law Enforcement Department decided to refund the fine, considering that it was Gu's first violation and no serious consequences had been caused. It's reported that Gu has received a refund of $4,000. It can be said that only a few people can obtain such lucky results because the case gained public attention. Many local governments realize that the profits they can gain from robbing the poor are limited. Besides the poor, they are aiming for bigger targets. Many local public security, procuratorial, and judicial departments are keen to conduct distant sea fishing in other places. Cities in the Pearl River Delta region such as Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and Dongguan have become high-incidence areas for non-local law enforcement. Guangdong Yijiangkong Group was caught in distant sea fishing. The company achieved revenue of $330 million in 2022 and submitted an application for listing in Hong Kong at the end of June 2023. Why do these officers, prosecutors, and judges like to conduct their business in other cities or provinces? Because entrepreneurs and businessmen in China usually have some connections with local government departments or judicial systems. Local officials and police departments will not harass the interest groups in their own territories too much. When they carry out robbery operations in other provinces, they don't have such interests as constraints. In October 2023, the Public Security Bureaus of Jiazhou City, Shanchu City, and Henan Province dispatched more than 1,600 police officers to Guangzhou, Guangdong Province to conduct distant sea fishing against a subsidiary of the One Health Group. They claimed that the group was suspected of fraud. The total amount involved in the so-called fraud was only $82,000, but the case handlers from Henan Province successfully froze 64 related accounts of the group's subsidiaries and froze funds of $100 million. Since then, One Health Group has been forced to withdraw its application for listing in Hong Kong. Due to funding problems, the group's business has been paralyzed and has not yet resumed normal production and operations. Henan Province is a relatively poor province in China. A so-called collector in a county in Henan Province entrusted his collection to a Shenzhen auction company for appraisal. You know, Shenzhen is in Guangdong Province. The company charged an appraisal fee of $700 in accordance with industry regulations. After paying the appraisal fee, this collector reported the case to the local police. The police in the county town in Henan Province filed a case for fraud and arrested 47 employees of the auction company. The court then imposed a huge fine and seized millions of dollars in assets of this auction company in Shenzhen. Distant sea fishing not only targets private enterprises but also a large number of individuals' online sales. Whether you are selling your own unused items or buying someone else's secondhand luxury bags or watches, there is a risk of being trapped, and if you fall into it, you will suffer heavy losses. On October 25th last year, a blogger named Bobo's Little Gold Treasury, who ran a gold-making shop in Hangzhou City, Zhejiang Province, posted a video saying that she was distant fished. Someone contacted her on WeChat to buy 2 investment gold bars, and the customer confirmed that he had received the goods and there were no problems. However, after completing the transaction, her card was frozen by the Shanxi Public Security Bureau. A day or two after finishing this transaction, my bank cards were frozen one after another. I quickly went to the bank to ask what was going on. The bank replied that the police in Shanxi Province, thousands of miles away, had frozen my account. The bank gave me a contact number and asked me to contact them. I called and they said the number was wrong. I contacted them through other methods and they said they would get back to me. After that, either no one answered when I called or they said the case officer was on a business trip. This went on for more than 2 months. This has been going on for 3 or 4 months now. I can't sleep at night. My blood sugar was normal before, but now it's abnormal. I've been suffering from a lot of mental torture and torture in all aspects. My business has also been affected. Here, I just want to remind everyone that we must pay more attention. When something happens, I tell you there is no justice. If you are victimized, you are victimized. It's that simple. That's all for today. If you enjoy our content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.